Yeah, my name is Charity Crump. Did you know that the guy who created the word Homo sapiens also created what we call race? Yeah, Carl Linnaeus, the founder of biology, put us in 4 groups: European, African, Asiatic, and the wild man of America. Then he gave each race characteristics. The European was gentle, inventive, and governed by laws. The Asiatic was severe, covetous, and governed by opinions. The African was lazy, negligent, and greasy. And the wild man of America was obstinate and content-free. This was in the first biology book, people. But see, none of these races actually existed. The entire idea that there even are races was only created in order to prove the superiority of white people. Tell him, Jacob.
It all started with the Spanish Inquisition. Columbus got lost in America and ran into these red people. Well, basically they started killing them, taking over their land, and they needed to justify what they were doing. So they started calling them the barbaric red man who wasn't really human, the savage Indian who was incapable of running their own world, incapable of becoming Christian, wasn't even created by God. They made up this whole story that any people that weren't white must not have come from Adam and Eve and thus weren't even human at all.
It's like those zombie video games where you just shoot all the zombies. I mean, they're not human, so just kill them. Obviously, it was proven that all humans are human, so then they just said that we all degenerated from white people. The scientists of the time assumed that humans must have started white and then devolved darker and darker. As people moved from their beautiful European origins, they gradually became less white and thus less human. Johann Blumenbach is the guy who created anthropology and the word Caucasian. He believed that the original white man was the most beautiful and closest to representing God's image. Because even anthropology was only created to prove the superiority of white people.
I know by now you're thinking, man, white people are interesting. But so-called black people of today mirror this same exact type of thinking. The Nation of Islam teaches that black people are the true humans created by God, and that a mad scientist named Yaqub grafted the evil white devil from black people. But where did this idea that evilness can be inherited through genes even come from?
Probably from the same people who created race. Paracelsus lectured that all non-white people came from the same being that created nymphs and griffins and were essentially beings without souls. That may sound like crazy talk, but a lot of us black people believe a similar type of logic today. Dr. Layla Africa and Carol Barnes are huge leaders in the so-called woke movement that's happening today. They believe that melanin, in addition to making our skin dark, is the reason that black people are not aggressive savages. According to them, how civilized the human is directly correlates with the amount of melanin they have. And without just the right amount of melanin, you don't have access to the spiritual realms and you are soulless. Isn't it interesting that this is the exact same thing that whites said about blacks when race was first invented? So you know David Hume and Immanuel Kant, they were the fathers of the Enlightenment. They created the idea of morality. They argued that never was a civilized nation of any other complexion but white. During this time of social Darwinism, people thought that whites ruled because of survival of the fittest, and thus treating all other races like crap was the moral thing to do. They claimed colored people created no arts and sciences and have never developed beyond barbarism. And today we say the same about whites. We say they stole everything from Egyptians and other cultures, and essentially they have no culture. White people can't dance. Black people have soul. Asians do math. Mexicans work hard. All of these stereotypes we assign to race when race itself is imaginary.
No, Charity. We can see race. Whites and blacks can be told apart just as easily as chihuahuas and pit bulls. What next? Are you going to tell us that dog breeds don't exist?
Yes, I am. This social construct that we know as dog breeds is just a result of people mating dogs that had a certain look with other dogs that looked similar. They did it over and over until they created this very incestual thing that we call breeds. What we now know as mutts are actually normal dogs. And what we call purebreds is just a Frankenstein creation of people mating dogs with their brothers and sisters until it looked like it was a breed. Dog breeds didn't even exist before about 100 years ago, and dog breeding became popular at the exact same time that human breeding became popular. It was called eugenics, the plan to create a superior Aryan race, blonde hair, blue eyes. The creator of psychology, William James, came up with the idea of human instinct and believed that drunkenness, insanity, prostitution, and criminal behavior were all the inherited traits of people without pure blood. Psychology was created to prove the superiority of white people. They believed intelligence was an inherited trait. Lewis Terman, the guy who invented the IQ test, wanted to prove that Anglo-Saxon Nordic Europeans were the only intelligent people. The test included questions such as,
Christy Mathewson is famous as Becky Sharp appears in
These were stupid questions that you wouldn't know the answer to if you weren't rich and white, and thus everyone who wasn't rich and white failed and was scientifically proven to be inferior. And they blamed it all on your DNA. This same idea of character traits being biological eventually led to the Nazis, Adolf Hitler, the Nation of Islam, 5%ers, the KKK, and every other organization that aims to prove that there are innate racial differences. There are mean black people and amazing black people.
Woke whites, horrible whites.
World-conquering Asians, enlightened Asians.
Nice pit bulls, mean chihuahuas.
And actually none of that is true because the distinctions between all of them are completely made up. What's the difference between these two people?
I know, one is white and one is black.
No, the truth is both Barack Obama and Logic are half black and white. But since one appears more white, we call him white, and the other appears more black, so we call him black. There is no natural definition of racist, and we made all of that up to prove the superiority of white people. Race is fake, but racism is real, and the only way to eliminate racism is to start teaching the absolute fact that there is no such thing as race. At that point, racism will not have a context to even exist within. We humans just want to categorize things and prove our theories. Two people look different, so they must be different. Most white people rule the world, so they must be evil. Most black people are less educated than white people, so they must be dumb. The real truth, though, is always much more complex, and every culture has a slew of historical circumstances that created what we see today. The only true evil that lies within the human is the ego. The idea that you and I are different, and since we are different, one of us must be better. This is an evil that lies deep within all humans and is the surest proof that we are all the same. Unlearn, open your mind, and start over. I love you. One more thing, we just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for all the love and support that you've given us in the past year. This has been the most amazing year of our life. We still have our GoFundMe link because we still need the monetary resources. We've reached over 100 million people with our message to bring love to this world, and we're trying to get it to 1 billion. So if any way you want to support, GoFundMe.com/Archduke. I thank you so much. I appreciate you so greatly. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I love you.